Well, first up, major oil marketing companies have started reducing prices of petroleum products. Market leader Well has reduced the price of petrol to 13 cedis 40 pesos a litre, representing more than 2 cedis drop from its previous price. Diesel is also going for 16 cedis 10 pesos from its old price of 18 cedis 86 pesos. Total Energies is selling petrol for 13 cedis 40 pesos, whilst diesel is going for 15 cedis 85 pesos. Meanwhile, most of the smaller oil marketing companies reduced their prices earlier on Wednesday, and some of the oil marketing companies have told Joy Business the drop has been influenced by improved dollar supply and the stability of the cedi. Well, joining me is Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association of Ghana, Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Are we expecting LPG prices to go down soon, and how significantly based on the city's performance? You're muted.
Good afternoon, Daryl.
Good afternoon to you.
Am I on now?
Yes, okay. You're on.
So definitely expect LPG price to go down beginning today. Beginning today, we are expecting price to go down by about 20%. We expect that the
20%, you say?
Yeah, 20%, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The previous window, we're selling a kilo for about 15 cedis 50 pesos. Beginning today, we are expecting to sell a kilo for about 12 cedis 50 pesos. Then that will be a drop of about 3 Ghana cedis, and that represents about 20% of the previous window price.
And this is based on the city's stability against the dollar, as we've seen in the past 2 weeks. If the city continues to be stable, what would it mean for your business?
Obviously, this is good news for not only for consumers, but for we as businessmen who operate in the space. And in the long run, it's good for Mother Ghana. You know, as an association, we've been pushing for prices of LPG to go down. Basically, the Cedi Stability is the largest contributor to this decline that we are seeing. If you look at the international markets, the price of the finished product continues to go down. Price of crude oil also continues to go down. At West, it's been very stable over the past few months. But what was really driving up the price was the instability of the cedi, was the depreciation of the cedi. But now that we see that the cedi gaining some ground, the cedi pitching its own against the dollar, we are likely to see a very consistent improvement in the price of LPG in terms of low prices. If this continue to move in that direction, we expect that
All right, looks like we have lost the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association. Are you on still? Okay, Daryl Kwawu is back. Daryl, you can continue continue on the points you're making.
Yes, I was just saying.
All right, looks like we are having problems with the connection to Daryl Kwawu, but he's just make the point, and I'm sure you're going to be excited about it, that he expects that LPG prices go down by as much as 20%. 20% beginning today. Daryl, if you can hear me, you can continue on the point you're making.
Yes, Daryl, the point I was trying to make is that if the cedi continue to be this strong, then we expect that during this festive season, the price of LPG will continue to come down so that consumers will have some respite in terms of the price of LPG.
Okay, so some businesses we have spoken to are excited about the cedi gaining some strength, just like you are, but are still cautious because they're not sure for how long this good run will be sustained. Is that the same sentiment amongst LPG marketers?
Yes, we are hoping that the good run will be sustained, or at worst will be stabilized. we are able to get the stabilization around 8.
All right.
We are likely to see.
Okay, thank you so much. A little bit of a problem with your connection there, but we appreciate your time. I think the point has been made. Gabriel Kumi, appreciate your time with us. That was the Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, just informing us that he expects prices of LPG to go down by 20% beginning today as the cedi regains some strength. So, speak about the cedi. Research institution Fitch Solutions is predicting a stronger cedi against the major foreign currencies come next year. In its latest analysis of Ghana's 2023 economic outlook, Fitch Solutions said the likely program from the International Monetary Fund signals to investors that the government is committed to fiscal consolidation that will turn around the country's economic predicament. Mark Kuniga is a senior country risk analyst at Fitch Solutions based in London.
The government is committed to fiscal consolidation and turning around the country's economic predicament, which will gradually restore investor sentiment and allow the cedi to stabilize. At the same time, we believe that with inflation in the U.S. Decelerating now, the U.S. Federal Reserve will refrain from hiking its benchmark policy rate further in 2023, which will allow the dollar to come down from the heights seen in 2022, so providing some support to the cedi and emerging market exchange rates in general. In addition, if we look into the history of the cedi, we see that periods of significant exchange rate weakness all lasted roughly 12 months. And given that we're currently in month 11, history would suggest that the worst is behind us.
Is a West over like Mark Kuniga suggests, but members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association have said that there would be a gradual reduction in the prices of goods in the coming months following the cedi stability. We will be also hearing from the president of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, but we can now link up with Dr. Benjamin Amor, who is Executive Director of the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies. He joins us to help us understand what is happening with the cedi. Thanks for your time. So from somewhere close to 15 cedis, the cedi now going for 8 cedis, 50 pesos to the dollar. We are told this is based on renewed investor confidence following this IMF staff level agreement. Some have alluded to the weakening of the US dollar. Is that all there is to it, or there could be more?
Okay. The factors were assigned to IA, the discussions so far with the IMF and the commitment that the IMF is giving, provided our debt restructuring program will work as anticipated. And then, of course, the weakening of the US dollar is what for now we can say is contributing to the appreciation of the value of the cedi against the US dollar. Why am I saying so? I'm saying this because if you look at our fundamentals, the fundamentals has not changed in the past 3 weeks. Debt to GDP is still high. Debt to revenue is still high. Monetary policy rate is about 27%. 91-day bill is 32.66%. Inflation is all-time 27-year high of 50.3%. They're talking about import still more than export. So clearly, if you have such fundamentals in your economy, you cannot attribute the 3 weeks good run of the cedi to fundamental strengthening of the economy. It is basically an issue of information trickling in and the response that the market is responding to what I would call the good information. It doesn't in any way show a strong fundamentals. Let me be quick to add. The US dollar itself for the past week or so has had some challenges. And the reason is that there was expectation that inflation would be high. Nonetheless, inflation wasn't as high as expected. So the expected increase in rate on dollar-denominated assets did not crystallize as anticipated. So clearly, if you look at currencies like the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, pound, euro, most of the major currencies themselves are becoming stronger against the US dollar. That is not to take away the fact that IMF is also contributing to the strengthening of our city, but it's not an issue of fundamentals. No, our fundamentals are still not good.
Our fundamentals are still not good. And so the question has been for how long this will last. You heard me speak with the LPG Markets Association. There's some cautious optimism in the system because we don't know how long this is going to last. So is this strength gained artificial?
Absolutely, Father. It is more of artificial because you see, you need the fundamentals to support the stability. So the question is, after the market fits in the IMF program going into next year, next quarter, after the market responds to all of these, what we call good news, what happens then? By that time, the rates will have been fixed to reflect the policy in terms of debt restructuring, in terms of our external debt restructuring program. So you realize that at that point in time, there's no good news again. So what we'll do, we'll follow the fundamentals. And so if the fundamentals still at that time is not good, then definitely we'll see the CD becoming weak again. So it is more artificial now than based on strong economy that one will have wished we will have to sustain the CD strength against the dollar for much longer periods than what we forecast to be.
And so what sort of boost is this giving the economy, though, and what should the government be doing so we don't go back to where we were 2 weeks ago?
That's a good question. What should we do and not do? Seriously, we should do what we have to do that will keep us away from having to run to the IMF. Clearly, because this turnaround shows that going to the IMF is not bad after all. We are all learning. So going to the IMF is not bad after all. It is only politicians who would like to make political capital out of going to the IMF, and so would like to make it look as if it is bad. But clearly what has happened shows that if you go to the IMF, you are not a sinner. Your economy is just in bad shape and you need support. And we should remember that the IMF and the World Bank were set up for economies like ours. Economies like ours that will or that have systemic short-term difficulties. And if you look at all the programs we have gone through from the IMF, they are always balance of payment challenges we've had all over, across time. And we have not been able to fix these challenges in terms of the structural nature. So until we will go back and do the right thing, we will always have this challenge. So we know what we have to do. Let's mobilize enough revenue. Let's work on import substitution. Let's cut down on wasteful government spending. And let's build an economy that is built around indigenous consumption. Then we can be talking about having a strong city going forward. We have said this time and time again, until we commit to it, look, after this IMF program,
Okay, technology is not a good friend this afternoon. Looks like, okay, we have him back. Prof, so I just want to conclude on this. Fitch projecting the city to be stronger against the US dollar based on the IMF deal we anticipate in the first quarter of next year. Does Surface have a projection yet? What is your outlook for next year?
We are still observing the CD. We do ours normally at the end of the year. So we want to see how the CD will perform till the year end. Then we will do our forecasting, and then we can pick the figures as the model will throw out. But let me be quick to say that so long as the US dollar itself weakens based on decisions made by the Fed, then definitely we are going to benefit from the low demand across the globe in terms of investment interest in the dollars. And we can then ride on that back. We shouldn't forget that we also expect the IMF program, if successful in terms of our debt exchange program to be successful, we expect the IMF to come in and then begin supporting us with 1 million, 1 million, 1 million per time. And this will also help us to meet some of our forex needs as a country. So it appears that the cedi will have relatively better performance next year than what we've had this year.
All right. On that positive note, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, Executive Director of Surface, appreciate your time with us. Now, members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, have started what they describe as gradual reduction in prices of goods on the market. That's according to President of the association, Joseph Obeng. This, he says, is in response to the sustained stability of the cedi against the dollar over the past 2 weeks. Mr. Obeng, who disclosed this on PM Express Business Edition, however, maintained that consumers should be measured in their expectations.
Prices will be varying from place to place from now, because others might have bought at the many of us have bought at the higher prices, and others also might have just started buying, and they have the advantage. And the market is not going to wait for you to reduce your price. When you get the advantage, you just reduce the price. So it's going to be varying. That's why we have advised our members to strike reasonable averages. If you bought some of the dollar at a higher price or medium price or lower price, then you strike the reasonable average so that you can stay afloat. Because now what you have to do as a trader is to be able to reduce your prices more so that you can get money to rush and come and enjoy what is happening now.
It is not specific timelines, but when should we be looking for some next year?
No, it has started showing.
As your members started
it has started showing.
Really? If we go to the market,
the competition in the market is such
your
that
members have started dropping prices.
The market forces is going to determine the price. And so,
but have they started doing that as we speak right
now? Even before I brought my press statement, it has started showing.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, because it's a competition in the market, and it's not. I'm telling you, but our expectation for this reduction should be measured.
Why?
Yes, it should be measured because most of us have bought the forest at a higher price, and you don't expect that
a gradual thing, and it's taking place.
Some of them, the goods have not come, and so please, the consuming public, we have shown good faith by even telling our members to come down with their price.
Well, let's move away from the cedi. And economist at the World Bank, Grzegorz Peszko, has called on government to introduce policies which will encourage recycling of plastics. According to him, introducing tax incentives for companies which use recycled plastics will encourage the usage of plastic products. He has been speaking at the ProBlue workshop in Accra.
ProBlue, a multi-donor trust fund administered by the World Bank to support the sustainable development of marine and coastal resources, as well as eradicate plastic waste, has held a workshop to develop a policy framework to shape Ghana's circular economy. Speaking at a workshop, economist at the World Bank, Grzegorz Peszko, urged the government to consider tax incentives which will encourage the usage of recycled plastics.
Who is going to produce these recycled plastic pellets for me? Because I want to use them in producing my bottles because they are cheaper to my consumers. And the difference is the tax. So for instance, in Ghana at the moment, you have entrepreneurs who are searching the waste stream and recovering some of the plastic materials. But for instance, this clear plastics that is used for the drinking, for the bottle bottles, this is not the recycled in Ghana for the purpose of the domestic producers and consumers. Ghanaian producers don't see the incentives to use the recycled content of the PET bottles, even if this is actually one of the most easy plastic material to recycle.
On the need to develop a tailored framework which will suit Ghana's culture and socio-economic landscape, advisor to the Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Oliver Boakye, reiterated government efforts to design an appropriate scheme where producers are given a significant responsibility.
The World Bank is helping us to design an appropriate EPR scheme. And I say appropriate in the sense that our markets are not the same as what exists in Europe and North America and others. Here, the informal sector, for example, accounts for a very huge percentage of the actors within the value chain. our EPR scheme should be able to cover that.
The workshop was held to develop a framework which will promote an economic system based on the reuse of materials or products as a means to ensure a sustainable environment.
Meantime, Ghana Youth Voices, a subsidiary of the World Bank Youth-to-Youth Community Initiative, has been launched in Accra. Speaking at the ceremony, the youth lead, Daryl Kwawu, advised the youth to develop digital skill set to make them competitive in the current technological world.
Ghana Youth Voice, a subsidiary of World Bank Youth-to-Youth Community Initiative, which seeks to promote youth inclusion in decision-making and strengthening the country's youth community engagement with the World Bank Group, was launched at the World Bank head office in Accra. Speaking at the ceremony, the youth lead for Ghana Youth Voices, Daryl Kwawu, called on the youth to take advantage of current digital trends to develop new skill sets which conforms to the current technological evolution.
We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and digital transformation is key, and also the future of work has changed from what we all got to know in school or what we were taught in school, and other careers have come up. Behind the scenes, there are lots of progressions of individuals taken up as a challenge to learn new skill sets in view to be globally competitive. So I urge all youth to, one, not rely on what they were taught in school, but rather even iterate or pivot on what they were taught in school, understand their personality types, connected to what is happening within the global market.
A member of the Climate Change and Energy Steering Committee, Maxwell Benjamin, commended the initiative as one which will create the platform for young people to contribute to the developmental policies in Ghana.
It's very instrumental at this particular time, because looking at the World Bank's institutional framework, integrating a youth aspect is very key, and it's also very important as well, because if you look at most of these organizations, there is no desk or front desk for youth inclusion. But then as a bigger institution and focusing on youth and actually creating an avenue so that youth can equally contribute is, I think, very important.
Angelina Annabel, one of the participants, called for more of such platforms to amplify activities of young people across the country.
Today's event has been very informative, and it has been very enlightening as well. Looking at an organization like mine in Besiafo, where I mentor girls from rural communities across Ghana, I feel like this initiative, that's the Ghana Youth Voices, is going to provide a platform for more young people like myself to be able to leverage on that platform to throw more light on what we are doing. So yeah, this initiative is really an amazing one, and we hope that more young people can benefit from it as well.
Now, Pitol has been accepted as an alcoholic beverage in Ghana because of its health and social-cultural benefits. Patrons have reasons why they love the drink. For others, it has a unique taste. Others love it because of its low sugar content, whilst others love it because it is affordable. Even though it is accepted in Ghana and several African countries, it has become less common, partly because it has not been promoted. In this report, Northern Regional Correspondent Martina Bugri tells the story of how Pitol is made.
Pitol is one of the several names given to sorghum beer, a local alcoholic beverage mostly brewed in the 5 regions of the north in Ghana and in several other African countries, including Nigeria. Even though it started in northern Ghana, over the years, migration of women in search of employment allowed them to start brewing in other parts of the country. Today, Pitol is known and accepted in all 16 regions of Ghana as one of the local drinks. Brewing of Pitol is mostly done by women, and it takes 2 days to have the entire process completed and ready for consumption. Brewers either use corn or sorghum to prepare the beverage. In this video, the brewer uses sorghum to prepare the malt. The sorghum is soaked in water and covered for 3 days with jute sacks to allow it germinate and other microbial process to take place. When that is done, the sorghum is milled and mixed with large quantities of water. This is boiled for an hour and left overnight to settle for the liquid beer to be separated from the mash. Beer water is then scooped out on the second day and boiled for several hours into the fine grade beer. At this point, the color either turns golden yellow or dark brown. The pito is made to cool down and transferred into small earthenware pots. Meet Amabile, a pito brewer in the northern region capital, Tamale. She's been brewing pito all her life. She says even though sales have dropped, she continues to survive selling pito.
First, when we brew pito, you charge full 2 pots, 3 pots, pito finish that very day. But now we fill 1 pot dry, it will finish. So there's no market. The things are costly, and there's no money for the customer to buy for us. So we are just there like that.
Customers visit her spot every time there is pito to enjoy. Kusele Ziem is a Dagara cultural promoter. He speaks on the cultural values of pito.
Pito is a very common drink, and it is what we use during occasions like funerals, weddings, and even during the what you call farming season.
Well, at least you saw how pito is made. That's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Read more about the city's resurgence over there. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We'll see you same time next week.